How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. And with that, welcome inside the Hump Day edition of the Stingray Show. We are going to have a good show on tap for you because we are going to be talking about the Peach Bowl a little bit later on this edition of the Stingray Show. That is the third rematch of the previous season here in the playoffs. First off, we had Alabama and Oklahoma. That was a rematch that Oklahoma got Alabama in the regular season. Alabama advanced in the playoffs. Then last week we had Ole Miss and Georgia. Georgia got the upper hand in the regular season, and then Ole Miss got its revenge. And finally, this week we have Indiana and Oregon, which was a phenomenal game brought to you by CBS earlier this year. And Oregon, unfortunately, lost to Indiana. And so we're going to have that rematch on Friday evening. One of those teams will punch its ticket to the national championship game. And Heath, what a job and what a run the Big Ten has been on over the past 3 years, because it looks like regardless of what happens, the Big Ten will be playing for its third straight national championship.
Yeah, you're starting to hear all the talking heads mention the SEC is not the best anymore. They're not best at the top. They're not best, with the mid teams. They're not best at the bottom. I'm starting to believe a little bit of it. I still think from top to bottom, the SEC is the best, but you can't be the best every year. You just
Right,
can't.
right.
And I'll say this: the SEC was running at such a high, incredible level. It's you can't keep that pace up. You just can't. No one could. No conference, no team, no nothing.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, I will say this, Stephen. With the NIL era, I do believe the Big Ten has been a little bit more ahead. There's more money in that part of the country. I think that we're starting to see that come in. I mean, Stephen, I don't have to explain NIL. I don't care if you disagree with me because you're going to be wrong because I got too many facts for you and you can't talk your way through them. But with that, I mean, look at the four schools remaining. None of these schools are blue bloods. None of these schools have ever been blue bloods, except for maybe Miami.
Right.
Um, so, with that being said, this is where we are now, and these teams have figured out NIL
Yeah.
faster than most, and that's what's happening. So, and here's another thing, Stephen. With NIL, this is not. You're eventually going to run out of money. I mean, this is kind of like socialism a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not going down that road.
No, 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 no.
But you're eventually going to run out of other people's money because you can't keep going back to the same booster asking them to donate to $5-10 million every year over and over and over. He's going to run out of money. And so, I mean, you can't keep this pace up. You just can't.
No.
And so, you look at this, and for teams like all four of these teams, I'll even put Miami in there. You feel for all four of them because you want all four of them to do good and win a national championship. But
Yep.
problem is, only one of them is going to do it, and the other three, you're never going to get this chance again. You're
Yep.
never going to get close to this chance again.
Yeah.
And so there you go. I mean, Indiana, maybe. Oregon, maybe. There's a lot of money at both those schools. Ole Miss doesn't have a lot of money. Miami, a
Yeah.
private school, they have problems getting money. So
But they've done it before. So
they have done it. They have done it.
yeah.
So there you go.
Heath, let's go ahead and transition because I do know that we talk the least on this show about college basketball because in our experience we've not had a lot of traction when we've talked about college basketball. But did you see the controversy surrounding Auburn last night?
I just saw the box score. I did not see a highlight. I haven't seen anything. I haven't read anything. So no, I have no idea.
Okay, so Auburn was taking on Texas A&M, and going back to football, Auburn feels like it has been screwed time and time and time again by the SEC office. First against Oklahoma, then against Georgia. Both of those were arguably major errors by the officials, okay?
I kind of agree with Auburn on this one, but go on.
Then last night, Auburn has the ability to go up and win the game. They sink the shot, and the guy sinks it from the coach's box right there by where you tag in from the scores table. And it clearly looks like on all of the views that I have seen that the ball was completely off his fingertips and Auburn would have won that game 91-90. The officials waved it off. Texas A&M won and Auburn fans were throwing stuff at the officials as they were escorted off the court and the police had to escort them from the court.
I don't understand what the problem. Look, I'm making this statement. The ACC does it right. You know what, Stephen? We're an SEC show. We're kind of beating up on the SEC early this morning. But hey, facts are facts.
Yes.
And,
Amen.
and and here's the problem with the SEC, and it is a massive one. And I don't care what anyone in Birmingham says at the head
Right.
office.
Yep.
You've already lost the fan base. We do not trust. We trust the IRS more than we trust you. All right.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. The ACC does it right. When they do a review, they go. I think they call it the command center or whatever they call it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
when the ACC does a review, they goes to their headquarters. You can watch everything live. You can hear everything live.
Yep.
and they've got multiple officials there. They got the replay review. They're talking to the head official,
Yep.
and they're running it past two officials there at the command center, and then they've got the official on the field. They all three agree, and then you hear every word of it. The SEC refuses to do that.
I
That is
wonder
completely,
why. I wonder
completely
why.
uncalled for. I mean, it is a joke. It is a joke. And I don't understand why the SEC wants to fight this because you have lost all respectability. You have no credibility. And I mean, you look like some hillbilly that's trying to cover up the good old boy system.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You have no credibility. And
No.
you're a joke. It's becoming a bigger joke, and I don't think you understand how much of a joke you are and how bad this is smelling on the SEC office in Birmingham. It needs to be fixed. Look, there's officiating problem all across America. There really is. We're talking high school sports, college sports, even the NFL. We've got an officiating problem. But to be transparent while other conferences are doing this at a high level and getting praised for it, and you're refusing to do it, you're a joke. You-
Dude,
You're
that's
not
why.
professional. You're a joke, and you're you're just not consistent.
Right.
Well, we
That
feel like we're being lied to. You're a liar.
Heath, that's why I'm over here laughing that Ole Miss is the only lifeline for the SEC making the national championship because the SEC office always pushes the blue bloods of Alabama and Georgia, and both of them are sitting at home. Hey, I call that karma, and she is a you know what. So yes,
Female dog.
I am really happy for Ole Miss because they are doing the middle finger to what everybody did not want to happen in Birmingham, Alabama.
You know, you've I've heard former head coaches tell stories about things about SEC officials, and they've mentioned it over and
Yep.
over and over. And they said, yeah, sometimes you got to play a flawless game to
And
keep
the
yourself
rest.
in the running.
Yep.
It's just crazy to see that. And sometimes they throw the flag on you, and the game's already decided. And I'm like, why are we protecting Alabama while they're up by 4 scores? Like that doesn't
Yep.
make any sense.
Yep.
Like, why are we doing this? I mean, it's really a joke. And look, the credibility of the SEC office, like seriously, I believe the IRS more than I would believe the SEC office.
Heath, I like the SEC, but there are some things about the SEC, the way that they handle things, that I don't like about the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, we all love the SEC, but I mean, the SEC needs to go hang out with the Savannah Bananas
I
and how
mean,
it's fan first. And what is so difficult of being upfront and honest? Just
because
make the reviews public.
upfront and honest, don't bring in the greed that they've got their mindset on.
And here's my argument against that. And I think it's a very great argument, not a good argument, a great argument. Indiana had more losses than any Division One program in football coming into this season, more than any program ever. Indiana, and a chain is only strong as its weakest link. Do
Yeah.
you think Indiana making this run is making the Big Ten worse? Nope. And that's the thing. Why can't we have South Carolina and Vanderbilt and Ole Miss?
But
Why can't we have them, you know, getting a call every now and again in their favor? What's the problem of letting, you know, Arkansas and Mississippi State and, you know, Missouri get a call every now and again? Why can't we just call it down the middle and be honest? That's all we want is honesty and transparency. It really is a joke. Whatever your least favorite political party is, I have more confidence in that party than I do the SEC office of being open and transparent and doing the right thing.
Tony Petitti is a younger generation guy. He understands that this is just my opinion. That, like you said, Indiana for the Big Ten, that's great. The old heads, Greg Sankey, and previous guys who have been the head of the SEC want to do, Heath, what you despise the most. And we talk about this on the show quite often. You were placed in this box. You were not allowed to get out of this box. Be glad
Mhm.
that you were in a conference, and we're going to let the other teams that have more money than you be better than you, and you're not allowed to climb out of said box. And until we get someone under the age of 50 to run the SEC office, they're never going to see it any other way.
I actually disagree with that statement, Stephen, because I just turned 50, but that's for another show. I, I understand that you want to protect the SEC and you want to protect the rights and you want to protect the teams, but protecting the powers, they don't need protection.
No.
They don't need protection. Look, the chain is only strong as its weakest link. I heard Jackie Sherrill years ago talk about when they made the SEC championship and they're in the fourth quarter. I believe the return guy was Kevin Prentice, returned that punt straight up the sideline. They tried to kick it out of bounds. He caught it, went straight up the sideline, scored a touchdown. Mississippi State has the lead against number one Tennessee. And Tennessee goes on to win the national championship that year. They do. And this is back during the BCS era. I believe it was the first BCS game between Florida State and
Yeah,
Tennessee.
it was.
And so, with that, when Mississippi State got the lead, they stopped Tennessee 3-and-out, got the ball back. And so now Mississippi State not only has the lead in the fourth quarter, they got the ball, they led the SEC in rushing, but I want to say they were one of the best teams in the country in rushing.
I know where this is
And,
going.
yeah, and they were averaging something crazy like 7.3 yards a carry that season. But it was outstanding. And so all of a sudden, the flags started getting thrown. Holding, offense. Jackie Sherrill was losing his mind, and he went out in the field. He goes, just tell me who's holding so I can get them out of the game.
I'm sorry, coach, we can't do that.
Yep. And the official looked at him and said, sorry, coach, we can't tell you that. And they kept calling holding call after holding call after holding call. And Mississippi State has to put the ball back. And now there's all these outrageous pass interference calls and defensive holding calls. And Tennessee scores. And then there was a turnover late in the game by Mississippi State. Tennessee capitalizes. I think Tennessee won that game by like 9 or 10 points. I can't remember.
Right.
It's not important. But anyway, it was State winning late in the fourth quarter. Tennessee takes the lead back, and then the freak turnover, and Tennessee returned that. And it was out of hand by the end. But it was just outrageous of all the holding calls, offense and defense, and they all went against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Stephen, I've just thought about this. I would like to go back and watch that game and count all the penalties in the fourth quarter and see if Tennessee had any. I would love to see that. But it is what it is, man. And the SEC officials, this is a joke. It really is.
Yeah. And like we've talked about, Heath, even before we were an internet show, we need to do away with the conference officials across the board. We need to have, like the NFL, a group of officials, like a system, and make it that way. Do away with the conference officials so that they are not protecting their own brand.
I'm completely okay with that. I remember this is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was a lot of SEC Pac 10 matchups, Pac 8, 10, 12, 14, 2, whatever they called themselves back then. But there was a lot of Pac SEC matchups. And I remember Auburn was playing USC. And, we just had several, I won't go into all the games, but there were several games being played to start the season. And I remember all the SEC coaches. I remember Tommy Tuberville talking about this. They don't call holding. They said the officials in the Pac are more like NFL officials.
Yeah.
They'll let a lot of holding calls go by and not be called during the game. And said where the SEC they'll throw the flag on those. And so there's a difference in officiating and this and that from the conferences, and I get that. But with that being said, if we just strip, I mean, it's kind of like insurance, Stephen. See, we're not a show about hot takes. We've never been a show about hot takes. We're giving a lot of hot takes this morning. But insurance, if we take away the state lines, it would bring everyone's premium down. Like, do away with state lines, let's shop it. But you have to shop inside your state, and then they jack you around with that. Same thing with conference officials. Let's just take conference officials away, let them be NCAA officials.
Yep.
And spread it, and it would fix some problems. It won't fix all the problems, but it will fix some of them. But what we're doing now is insane, and that's why I made the joke about the SEC needs to get with the Savannah Bananas. It's fan friendly. You better start doing stuff because people will just stop watching. They'll get so frustrated, like, I'm done with this.
Maybe we need that. Maybe we need the SEC to get a wake-up call.
Brother, the wake-up call and alarm has been sounding for a long time, and idiots in Birmingham are ignoring it, and that's on you, fool.
Yeah. All right. Heath, let me also say this. Let's go back to last Friday night when we had, I think it was last Thursday night when we had Miami and Ohio State playing. Do you realize that the first penalty accepted or the first flag thrown in that football game was with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter?
That's funny.
And get this. You have Big Ten versus the ACC, the officials working the game, the Big 12. That should speak volumes.
Yeah, it really should.
They don't have a dog in the fight, so they're letting it play out the way college football should be played.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been to a game. I don't care if it's middle school football. We've all been to a game where the officials get flag happy. And you're just like, oh, for the love of God, stop throwing the flags, please. Yep. We've all been to that game. And I do like it when they let them play. I do like it when they let something slide. But as long as they're consistent on both sides of the ball with it,
yeah,
as long as they're consistent, it's fine. When you're inconsistent, that's when I got an issue with it and a problem.
All right. So, Heath, let's go ahead and start the Stingray show. I'm about to run our ad for our local sponsor here in Tuscaloosa, and then I'm going to run the open and we will bring on our guest. Right after this, we are about to start the nuts and bolts of the Stingray show. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. And now, let's go ahead and talk about the Peach Bowl over in Atlanta Friday evening that has to do with number 1 Indiana taking on number 5 Oregon. This is a rematch from October of last year, previous this season, in which Indiana knocked off Oregon there in Eugene, 30-20. Who will win the second round of this matchup and punch their ticket to the national championship game? ESPN senior writer Adam Rittenberg is about to join us right after this open to preview the Peach Bowl there in Atlanta.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside the Stingray Show. Here we are doing a preview of the Peach Bowl between Oregon and Indiana. And this was a great game earlier in the season, like I said. However, Oregon went 3 of 14 on third downs and had 2 costly turnovers in that matchup. Here to join us to talk about the Peach Bowl and especially this matchup where the Big Ten will once again be represented in the national championship, whether that be Oregon or Indiana. Here is ESPN senior writer Adam Rittenberg. Adam, how are things with you this morning as we sit here awaiting the Oregon and Indiana game?
Yeah, guys, good morning. Doing great here in Atlanta, getting ready for the game. So, just a couple days away. We'll obviously have playoffs tomorrow night, and then the one here on Friday night. So, excited to see these two teams meet again.
Yes.
Adam, Happy New Year. Hopefully you're enjoying Atlanta. With all that being said, is there any fun places that you hit up when you go to Atlanta? Is there places that you repeat over and over to eat lunch or something before the game or after a game?
Yeah, that actually is funny. I don't come here that much. I mean, Mark Schlabach, who I know you had in the open there, lives pretty close by, so he kind of handles a lot of the major events here, and he'll be here for the game on Friday as well. So yeah, I'm not here that much. I was here in the spring, visiting Georgia Tech and saw a friend who lived here at the time, a great area that he lived in. But yeah, I don't have like Atlanta spots like I do with Indianapolis and some of the other cities that I see a little bit more often.
I was hoping you were saying you're going to get an orange drink at the Varsity. That's what I was fishing for.
Maybe. We'll see if we'll get there later today.
There you go. Adam, what's one thing that's just jumping off the page at you at this game that you wanting to see for your own eyes when you get there? Is there a stat? Is there a matchup? What is it heading into this game that you really are looking for?
Right. So for me, it's Oregon's defensive line against Indiana's offensive line. I think if there's a team that is going to beat Indiana, they're going to have to play really well at the line of scrimmage, and maybe as well as Indiana. It's really hard to play better than Indiana does up front. And yeah, I think you've seen the last few games for Indiana against Alabama and Ohio State that they had the edge in those areas, and Oregon's going to have to find a way to match them physically. And that hasn't been a problem for Oregon usually. Mario Cristobal had very physical teams. Dan Lanning has had really physical teams. And they're going to need their best effort, I think, on the D-line against this Indiana front, which, again, it's a group that just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, not a lot of penalties. They don't have a lot of breakdowns in their protection. And I think their run game doesn't get nearly enough credit. The improvement that they've made, averaging about almost 70 yards rushing a game, more than they were last year, 60, 65. And they're in the top 10 in rushing. And, they don't have maybe a back that jumps off the page at you, but I thought Roman Hemby was great in the Rose Bowl. And along with Keelan Black, they gained 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. They put their offense in advantageous situations to march down the field and score on you. And that's what Oregon's going to have to prevent. And they did a great job of that in the quarterfinal game against Texas Tech. Mateo Uiagalelei had maybe the play that changed the game to set up Oregon's first touchdown. But they're going to need those types of plays, I think, to beat Indiana. I mean, keep in mind, guys, in this first game, Oregon had a pick six. They had a defensive touchdown. and they still lost by 10 points on their home field, and they didn't score an offensive touchdown for the last 50-plus minutes. So if you expect to go in against as well as Indiana's playing on defense and put up a ton of points, it's probably wishful thinking. So you need your defense, starting with the front, to play really well.
Now, Adam, with this game being so far for both teams, especially from Eugene and then from Indiana, what is the crowd expected to be like there in Atlanta for this Peach Bowl matchup?
So here, yeah, this is the thing that has been a revelation to me, Stephen, really the last couple of years, but especially this year. The Indiana fan base has always been there. They have a massive alumni base, and it's been a big reason why they've been able to continue to keep Curt Cignetti and those assistants and get top transfers. They have money around their program. They have people around their program, and they're showing up to these games. Going to the Rose Bowl, my flight both ways is filled with Indiana people. Obviously this is a little bit early to come down for this one, but I'm sure if I flew down on Thursday or Friday morning, it would be the same thing. And these people are just needed a reason to buy in, and so I would expect it to be heavily Indiana. I mean, that's not a knock against Oregon. Their fans are great. They travel. They have a national following because of Nike and the success that they've had as a program here for the last 20 plus years. But I think it's going to be more like a road environment for the Ducks. That the first time around was obviously at home, but this will feel a little bit more like a road game for them.
Gotcha.
Adam, besides the quarterbacks for each team, who is one player that each team just cannot afford to lose in this game to injury?
Wow, yeah, you hope that there's no injuries. Unfortunately, Oregon already dealing with an injury at running back with Jordan Davison, their leader in rushing touchdowns, who unfortunately is going to be out for the game with an apparent shoulder clavicle injury. I think for Indiana, a guy like D'Angelo Pons is someone that you need on the field. Just a true playmaker at cornerback, a guy that you throw against him, bad things can happen, and they're going to need him. As Oregon has some really good receivers, they always have explosive players on the perimeter, and Dante Moore is going to want to try to find those guys. So I think for Indiana, I mean, if they're probably taking the two quarterbacks out of it, D'Angelo Pons is somebody that they really need on the field. And I think for Oregon, just because of the depth, it's probably a guy like Noah Whittington. They just don't have a lot of depth now at running back because they've had a couple of guys go in the portal. Now with Davison being out, they're going to lean a little bit more on Whittington and De'Aaron Hill Jr. To kind of carry the load, and that's going to be really important. I just don't see a team, guys, beating Indiana without, like I said, a good line play overall, and then the ability to run the ball. I mean, that became so clear in the Rose Bowl. We were all trying to talk ourselves into Alabama. Oh, maybe they're going to, shock Indiana and they've got more talent. And then the game begins and it's like, oh, yeah, there's Alabama. They can't run the ball. We've seen this all year. We've seen it against great teams. We've seen it against mediocre teams. We've seen it against some bad teams. Like, that's just not going to work against Indiana. So I think for Oregon, it really, they need to take some pressure off of Dante Moore with their run game. And, being down Davison, I think Whittington becomes even more important.
So, Adam, if you would, because you've covered Indiana probably more than anybody doing the Big Ten stuff for ESPN, talk about this incredible, unprecedented turnaround that Indiana has done over the past 2 years, going from the doormat of the Big Ten to Rose Bowl champions and one win away from punching its ticket to the national championship.
Yeah, it's really a remarkable story. I don't know if there's necessarily a comparison. We've had teams that have risen up before and made a major bowl game, for example. But to now be number one undefeated and really the favorite to win a national championship just 2 years into a coach's tenure, I think it speaks to the time that we're in, that you can change your roster rapidly. I think it speaks to what I mentioned earlier, that Indiana had some ingredients with its school that were always in place. They just needed a reason to believe, and now Curt Cignetti has given them that. One thing I'm writing about this week for ESPN.com is just the evaluation process and how Curt Cignetti is in the middle of everything. He's not a guy who defers that to his assistants, and they don't have a general manager. They don't have a huge personnel department. Kurt Signetti essentially is picking the players in the roster. And you've seen, he's had the magic touch. And I think this is a guy who has spent his entire career preparing for something like this, whether it was early on as an assistant at places like Pitt and NC State, Johnny Majors and Chuck Amato, and then obviously his time with Nick Saban, but then learning at the Division II level where you have to do everything. You have to make the selections on the roster. You have to be involved. And then moving up the ranks that way, it's really an inspiring story because, it's obviously great when a younger head coach like Ryan Day wins a national title, but he didn't have to rough it like Kurt Signetti did. And so to see what he's done at a program, like you said, that was down and out and now is on top of the college football world, it's really astounding to me. It's something that maybe we'll see more often because of the portal, but it may not be. It may be something we only see once in our lifetimes, which is why it's such a special moment.
So, Adam, who do you have punching their ticket to the national championship game from the Big Ten? Is it Oregon that not many people are talking about, or is it Indiana continuing this dream run?
Well, let me preface this by saying, like, Oregon can win this game. Oregon is a really talented team. I still think guys are probably a year away from having their best team because they have so many young players who are set to come back. So they can win the game. With that said, I'm not picking against Indiana. I mean, to me, this guy feels a little bit like a less talented version of LSU in 2019. Like, nothing's going to stop them.
Right.
There isn't a weakness on their team that you look at and say, well, if Oregon can exploit this, then Indiana's in real trouble. Can Oregon make plays? Yeah. I mean, can they score? Sure. But they're going to have to play, and the Oregon players realize this, like they're going to have to play a much better game to beat Indiana than they did in Eugene, because even though that was tied in the fourth quarter, Indiana was clearly the better team that day. So it's going to take their best effort of the season. They're obviously coming off of a tremendous performance defensively. Offensively, they've got to finish drives. They've got to be more efficient, and they're capable of that. So I'm hoping I see a better game than I did at the Rose Bowl, but certainly expecting Indiana to move on to South Florida.
Okay.
Adam, fun question for you. Kurt Signetti, in America's just really kind of getting to know this guy a little bit. He's a different bird. He's a unique guy. He's a fun guy, but he's also very intense. Talk about some fun dealings that you've had with Kurt Signetti, or whether it be an interview or a random topic. Is he always just business, straight to the point, go, go, go? I got to get this done. I got to do something else. Or is he a little bit unique and, gets off in the woods on topics and has a little fun?
Yeah, so Kurt is very Pittsburgh, and for people who don't maybe know people from Pittsburgh, that might be hard to sort of grasp. But his mannerisms, his way of speaking, some of the things that have kind of made him a little bit iconic here are very indicative of people that grew up in that area. And he was born there and coached there. His dad coached there, I believe, as well, and was at West Virginia, which is very close to Pittsburgh. So I think he's a very Pittsburgh person, but I also think he's a fun guy. I mean, it's fun to interact with him before the games. He oozes confidence. I've gotten to know his family. I did a piece last year for ESPN, spending some pregame time with his wife, who's wonderful. He's got 3 kids. I think his daughters were athletes. His son Kurt's a great guy. I still communicate with him quite a bit. But and it's funny to get their perspective on what people think of their dad, because they know him very differently, obviously, and I think they get a kick out of the memes and some of the expressions and the things that he said. And Kurt's really said a lot less this year. I think that was by design. He knew he had to make some waves last year at Indiana. He talked about stepping on campus and just feeling how down the place was, and he needed to create some energy there. This year it's been different, and they've been a good team from the start, and they haven't had to talk as much. And he still says some things that raise your eyebrows, but it's not like it was last year. But I really enjoy him. He is Pittsburgh. He's a bit dry, but he's a good guy to talk to, and you get him going on certain topics. It's a lot of fun. So, but he is all business, and he talks about that. They don't have long practices. I think the longest press conference he had, his weekly deal was like 17 minutes this year. He doesn't waste a lot of time. And maybe not waste is the wrong word, but he's not a guy that's going to necessarily talk for 5 minutes when he only needs to talk for 38 seconds. So,
Right.
and I think that's been part of, again, everything he has done since he arrived on campus has worked. And it's been, again, I think a lifetime's worth of preparation for what he's doing now at Indiana, which has, again, shocked the college football world and may shock them all the way to a national title.
A real quick follow up to that. What's some of Kurt's hobbies? I mean, what does he talk about when he's not talking about football? What's some of his interests?
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot. I mean, again, I think this is a guy who truly is a football obsessed person, and doesn't golf, doesn't he does take time off and travels. He really loves his family. He's got a few grandchildren. His one daughter. When I was with them for the Michigan game last year, I knew this before. Obviously, she didn't know this, but I knew that her then boyfriend was going to propose to her after the game, and so they beat Michigan and they did the whole proposal. I think she's pregnant now, so it's a pretty cool family. And I think he's just a guy that it's family and football, and that's about it. And he really enjoys the X's and O's piece, which a lot of coaches talk about not having time to do, and it's something they used to do as assistant coaches, and they can't do it anymore. Curt Cignetti still kind of finds time for all of that because of how efficient they are with their entire operation. So it's really interesting kind of to study them at the time when the portal is going on and you're talking about general managers and personnel directors and these huge operations, which I get. I mean, you have to put money into those things. Indiana's not really like that, guys, and they're still kicking butt in the portal. Yeah. Saw what they did on Sunday with Josh Hoover and Nick Marsh and several key defensive players. I mean, they're rolling, guys. And I is this going to be the last playoff appearance for Curt Cignetti? You'd be naive to think that. Will they win multiple national championships? I don't know, but I think they've positioned themselves for future success because of his leadership.
So, Adam, you have Indiana moving on. Tomorrow night in Glendale, Arizona, the Fiesta Bowl. There is the ACC versus the SEC. The outstanding defensive line of Miami going up against Trinidad Chambliss, Karen Lacey, and Ole Miss. Who do you have winning that matchup? Break down the Fiesta Bowl, please.
Yeah, I have a harder time with this because again, I can make the case. Trinidad's probably the hottest quarterback in this deal, and a guy that you certainly don't want to play with the confidence and the playmaking ability. You mentioned Kyron Lacey. On the flip side, I give Miami a fairly substantial edge at the line of scrimmage. You could argue that Ole Miss had a better defensive line last year, and that's not a knock on the players they have now, but in terms of just top end talent, look at who they had last year on that defensive front. And so I'm leaning Miami, but again, this one is really tough to call, and I think we're going to see hopefully two really exciting semifinals that go down to the end. And the advantage for Ole Miss is that they were just in a really big game and had to make some incredible plays to give themselves a chance against Georgia, and then they were able to make those plays. And Miami, meanwhile, played really one of its cleanest games in a big stage under Mario Cristobal. Can they replicate that? Are we going to see some of the mistakes that they've made in the past on these grand stage? And if they do, Ole Miss is capable of beating them. They're capable of winning a national championship. I mean, I'm all in on Ole Miss as well, but I would probably go with Miami here.
We had Tom Luganville on the show here on Monday, and I asked Tom this question, and I said, I always thought Trinidad Chambliss was playing at a high level and doing good and this and that. I was like, but they're not winning. This is mainly talking about the Georgia game. And I said this to Tom, I was like, they're not winning with him. They're winning because of him now. He is playing at an outstanding level now. And I don't think there's anybody better in college football right now than Trinidad Chambliss. What do you think about his play, especially here, say like November on and here in the playoffs? Just talk about Trinidad Chambliss, and what have you seen different from his performances?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that as he's gotten on these stages has gotten more and more comfortable. He obviously had the ability. There's a reason why Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. and that staff brought him in from Ferris State. You don't do that unless you think a guy can perform in the SEC and in these big games. And it's been remarkable. I mean, we're talking about Indiana being in this position. Trinidad Chambliss, leading Ole Miss further than it ever has gone in the college football playoff is phenomenal. It's a sign that college football is changing. and that we're not just talking about the same programs and it's always 5-star recruits. I mean, you look at this group of quarterbacks, and you think you have two guys in Dante Moore and Carson Beck that we've heard about for a number of years because of their recruiting. Certainly Dante Moore, one of the top recruits in the country. But then you've got the Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza at Indiana and Trinidad Chambliss, who essentially nobody wanted coming out of high school, at least at this level. And look at where they're at. Look at what the matchup we could have in Miami in the national title game. So it just shows that, there's different developmental timelines, and sometimes you got to find a guy, and sometimes the guy that you thought would be really good is really good. Dante Moore is awesome. I mean, Dante Moore could be the top quarterback selected in the NFL draft or right behind Mendoza. So it's a fun group of quarterbacks, and Chambliss is probably the most fun at this point with what he's doing.
Adam, thank you as always. Go and enjoy Atlanta and the Peach Bowl for Heath and I, and be safe over there in Atlanta. Hopefully, like you said, you will get a much better game than the one you witnessed in the Rose Bowl, and we will catch up with you to hopefully preview the national championship game on Monday, January the 19th.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the games.
Thank you.
All right, Adam, take care.
All right, so Heath, there you go. He has Indiana and he has Miami moving on to the national championship game. And Heath, that would send panic mode into the SEC, because that would be 3 years without a national champion and 3 years without a national champion or a team playing in the national championship game.
Yeah, Georgia carried the banner for a short time, for a couple of years there, and their 2 titles. And Georgia was always that program. I had a great friend. He lives in Big Ten country. He's an Ohio State grad. He's a big time Ohio State fan and alum.
Right.
And he made mention to me before Georgia won a national title. He said, "Man, I really think Georgia is nothing but Penn State of the South."
Yes.
I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, they talk about their stadium and how loud it is and how great the atmosphere is. And they're always good, but they're never great."
Mm.
He said they'll win a national title like once every 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm like, oh, okay, and I never put much thought into it. But we're starting to see that. They won the title in 80. They didn't do it until a couple of years ago. And they got back-to-back. Now, Penn State made national championship games
Right.
that they would lose. Georgia made some national championship games they've lost.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to wonder if there's some relevance into that thinking. Alabama looks like it's trending down. It started trending down with Nick Saban, not with Kalen DeBoer. It started trending down with Nick Saban. I've got to say that repeatedly. It started trending down with Nick Saban as head coach.
But not rapidly, but there was a small decline.
Yes. And so
it wasn't like Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden's last film, it just went.
Yeah, it did get in pretty quick for Bobby.
Yeah.
But you look at Bama, things were trending down with Nick Saban the last few years. That trend has continued.
Yeah.
There. And I said it earlier in the show. I'll put it on this. I don't think Alabama knows how to use the NIL completely and correctly like other teams.
Not yet, no.
I think that's what's holding them back. I don't think it's coaching.
Right.
I don't think it's a lot of things. I just think that they can't do it. You've got to learn to play without depth. And then, of course, you have a major injury, and then you're screwed.
Yes.
So you've got to learn about that. But anyway, Bama's kind of on the way down. LSU, who knows what they're doing down there? Even right now. That's a circus and a dumpster fire still.
Yeah.
So, Ole Miss has kind of figured things out with NIL, and look where they are.
Yeah.
They're deep in the playoff right now. So
Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, Texas has almost figured out this NIL thing, but Texas always getting Texas's way.
Yep.
Oklahoma has always got blown out in playoff games. They still can't figure out the playoff game thing.
So, Heath, basically what you're saying, the always consistent SEC has really become the consistently consistently inconsistent in the NIL and transfer portal era.
I mean, look at Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like Tennessee was about to do it. And Tennessee still might figure this thing
Yeah.
out. But I think the SEC is really struggling with this
Yeah.
NIL thing, and I think teams from the Big Ten have
They
figured
figured
it
it
out
out.
faster. But
Yeah.
again, the Big Ten, that entire area, has more money than the South does. Those Big Ten schools, every single one of them have more money
Yeah.
than SEC schools.
Yeah.
The Big Ten, those universities are massive, massive enrollment. It costs a ton of money to go to school there. Their TV packages make more money. Why? Because they're closer to businesses in the Northeast and the Midwest, these big industries, and they give the money back to these schools. Where, down here we got like Waffle House and Texas Pete. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just different. I mean, it's just different. And the schools with money, like Auburn, Texas, they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, do y'all not remember Alabama before Nick Saban? They had all this money, and they would get a coach, and he would have like a good little run, a tiny run, and then it would falter because Bama alums could not get out of their own way, and they wanted to be part of the program, and blah, blah, and it kept ruining the program. And we were seeing it at Auburn, and we were seeing it at Texas, and we're seeing it at Florida.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it at a lot of places right now. And I mean, that's just where we are, man.
All right. So, Heath, are you ready to finish up the show with some fun talk? Because the previous 2 days, we have started with the National Day of Today and the National History of Today. We threw you guys a curveball today. Let's finish up the show talking about some fun talk as we leave.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to run a quick ad from one of our wonderful advertisers. I'm going to drop the graphic behind me. We will come back and finish up the Stingray show right after this. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. All right, so are we ready to begin the National Day of Today and the National History of Today, Heath, to finish up the show?
Yeah, I just thought about this, Stephen. And this will be the last probably football talk that we have. I'm going to ask Adam one last question. You got to give me a warning when you're out of questions because I had one more for Adam. I'd love to ask him, what is he hearing about Lane Kiffin down at LSU with Tom Luganville the other day saying he's panicking and Tim Brando saying the things that he said yesterday. I'd like to get Adam Rittenberg says he's a college football insider. He knows things. So I'd love to get his thoughts. But you know what? We'll have to bring Adam back on. And I got a feeling things in Baton Rouge are going to change about 2,000 times before we get Adam Rittenberg back on before the national championship game. So there you go.
All right, today is Wednesday, January the 7th, and today is National Bobblehead Doll Day.
Wow. I've never been big on the bobbleheads. Are you a bobblehead fan? Do you have any bobbleheads, Stephen?
I do, yes.
And what is your favorite bobblehead or some of your favorite bobbleheads?
A couple years ago, I went to a Jeff Dunham concert or stand-up comedy show, whatever you want to call it, and I got the VIP package, and one of the bobbleheads in the VIP package was Bubba J.
Oh,
What's
okay.
my favorite beer? An open one.
I went to a Baltimore Orioles game right after I graduated college way back when.
Yeah.
And we went to go see Cal Ripken in his final season play before he retired. Saw him move to the 15th all time on the hit list. But that night it was Brady Anderson bobblehead night. And
Hmm.
I have no idea where that bobblehead is. I got a good idea. It's in a storage container.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've got a bobblehead right actually behind me here, right up there. And it was from one of my favorite Alabama basketball players when I was growing up. A lot of y'all may not remember, some of you may, Chuck Davis
Yeah.
from Alabama.
Remember Chuck Davis?
Yep. He was one of my favorite players under the Mark Gottfried era.
We had Godfrey on the show several times. He's
Yep.
always fun. We got
Yep.
to get Coach Godfrey on when we go full force into basketball.
Yep. Around March Madness, my friend.
That's right.
All right. It is also National Tempura Day, which is a type of seasoning and type of batter for shrimp. However, I have never had anything tempura.
Usually you go to your hibachi and sushi places. They
Mhm.
got tempura stuff. It's good. You'd probably like it.
I've always heard about it, but I've never actually tried it.
Why don't you do it today for lunch?
All right, Heath, today we're going to move to the birthdays right now. And today, this guy was born on January the 7th of 1948 in Everett, Washington. He is a music artist, an actor known for these movies right here, Footloose, Caddyshack, and Top Gun. Who am I talking about?
Talk about Kenny Loggins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenny Loggins, man. I mean, like every awesome soundtrack of the 80s, either him or Sammy Hagar did.
Yep.
So, yeah, Kenny Loggins. Because, I mean, I'm All Right with Caddyshack, Footloose from Footloose, and then Danger Zone from
Yep.
Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Kenny Loggins, man. I would love to see his royalty checks from those movies.
Oh, I know.
Because I mean, you could find one of those movies today somewhere on television, whether it be streaming or, on TBS or whatever. One of those movies is going to pop up.
Now, it is also the birthday of a guy who was born in 1964, who is a well known actor in Hollywood, known for his leading roles in National Treasure, Con Air, Face Off, and finally Gone in 60 Seconds.
Nicky Cage.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Nicolas Cage. Hey, what's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie, Steven?
National Treasure, I would say.
Okay.
That was, I guess, yeah. I'm
You know,
not a big Nicolas Cage fan, not really.
he's doing a John Madden movie that's going to come out around Thanksgiving. Can't wait to see that. But my favorite Nick Cage movie is Raising Arizona. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It is one of the most driest comedies you'll ever watch in your life, but it is so stinking funny.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen the movie Raising It, Holly Hunter's in it, plays his wife. There's a couple, their last name's Arizona. They have like 5 or 6 babies. I think they have 6 babies. And Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter trying to have a baby, and they can't have one on their own. So they decide to kidnap one. It's like, oh, they got more than they can handle. We're going to kidnap one of their kids. They're not going to miss it. And it's just a super funny movie. And so, yeah, you will laugh over. It's very dry. If you do not like dry comedy and dry humor, you're not going to like it. Most men love this movie. Most women think it's the most stupidest thing ever, which makes men like it even more. So, yeah, Raising Arizona.
I will tell you this, and I thought this was pretty cool. Nicolas Cage filmed scenes from World War II's movie USS Indianapolis Men of Courage down in Orange Beach, Alabama. And I was actually down in Orange Beach, Alabama that summer of 2016 when they were actually doing the filming of the movie there on the beach. That was pretty cool because they actually brought in a old submarine and a sunken ship and put it on the sandbar just out from the Floribama and shot those scenes. It was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I know we had my daughter was actually this time last year, Stephen. It's almost a year ago to the day. My daughter turned 16. Instead of a party, she wanted to take a road trip. She wanted to go to New Orleans. We took her down to New Orleans. She wanted to do a ghost tour. And on the ghost tour, they showed us this house that was supposedly haunted. And one, Nick Cage bought it, renovated it, had it. And oh, excuse me, I don't know where that came from. Apologize. And I think he got into some financial trouble and things, taxes,
Right.
and he had to sell it. But there was all kinds of crazy stories from that house. I couldn't tell you where it was, but that's what Google's for. There's your free Google Pass of the day. Nicolas Cage, home in the French Quarter, haunted. I'm sure you'll find it within seconds.
All right, let's go to the national history of today and finish this up. Today in 1782, on January the 7th, the Bank of North America opens as the first American commercial bank in the United States.
Wow. So banks, if you had to describe what banks do, they're a business that helps businesses.
Pretty much.
That's what they do. They're a
All
business
right,
that helps businesses.
Heath, can you tell me what phenomenon, and this is still a thing today, happened on this day in 1927? This group played their first basketball game in Hinckley, Illinois.
What year?
1927.
I'm not going to say the Harlem Globetrotters. It is the Harlem Globetrotters. I wasn't going to say it.
Yep, the Harlem Globetrotters played their first basketball game and have attained iconic status in the world of basketball, and they continue to entertain fans worldwide. So the Harlem Globetrotters began on January the 7th of 1927.
Wow. Steve, you ever see the Globetrotters?
I have. They actually came and did a halftime show at one of the Alabama basketball games here pre COVID.
Oh,
And that
wow.
was
Have you ever seen them do a full game, their whole show?
no.
Oh, you should check that out. It's fun.
Right.
It's fun. I remember as a young kid at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, there on the fairgrounds. They used to come once a year. And I remember the very first time I ever went to see them, they were talking and oh, I can't remember the main guy did all the jokes and everything, but he had his microphone on and he was having problems with his mic and they went to change it. And so they were holding it down. He turns around and poots in the microphone and like the entire team, like that wasn't part of the show. And like the entire team loses it. I mean, he just rips one, man. It is absolutely hilarious. You know, cut the cheese in the microphone, and it just to see the players' reactions from both teams.
Yeah.
That's when you knew it wasn't part of the show. Yeah, so it was quite funny.
All right, Heath, thank you for that visual that we did not need this morning,
Hey,
but
at
thank
least
you.
you got smell-o-vision, right?
All right, when we move to 1929, can you tell me what major comic strip was first published?
1929.
Yes,
Is it like the company or the character?
character.
Superman. Tarzan.
No,
No,
Tarzan. Tarzan.
that's what I said. Tarzan.
Okay. Yeah, Tarzan was published in a comic strip for the first time on January the 7th of 1929.
Wow. Wow. What was his pet's name? His pet monkey, chimp, ape, whatever.
I don't know.
Did he call it chimp? Did he call it cheetah? He called it. Oh, I got to use my Google Pass for the day on that later.
All
But I
right.
remember President Reagan made a joke, said he looks like Tarzan, acts like Jane, and smells like Cheetah. I think Cheetah was the name of the monkey in the movie, in the Tarzan comic strip. But yeah, I always thought that was a funny line. That always got a big pop. So
Maybe his name was Chimp.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Can you tell me what other comic strip was created and drawn on this day in 1934? And this one was a big one.
I know they were doing Batman short films in the 40s. So Batman's probably around for a little bit. I'm gonna go Batman.
Flash Gordon.
Wow.
All right. Tarzan.
I had a cough. I was trying to fight that. Sorry. Cheers. Cheers was the name of the monkey?
Yeah. So apparently.
Oh, there you go.
Nope.
Cheetah. There we go. It was Cheetah.
You're right. You're right.
Cheetah. Thank you, Kay.
All right. So, Heath, we've just got a few more. Can you tell me what was patented on this day in 1958 that was used by Jimi Hendrix, T-Rex, the Kinks, and Bobby Gibson of ZZ Top?
The Wawa bar. I have no idea.
Gibson Guitars receives U.S. patent for their Flying V electric guitar model that was eventually used by Albert Collins, Jimi Hendrix, Mark Bolan of T-Rex, Dave Davins of the Kinks, and Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top.
Man, God bless America for that. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
think how much great music those guys did. Like, not only great, but awesome music. So, wow. Only in America.
All right. Now, Heath, I did not know this, and you may or may not. Do you know what happened on this day in 1961 that was only around for 10 seasons in the NFL?
It was only around for 10 seasons in the NFL?
Yes.
Oh, geez. I don't know. Some kind of overtime? I have no idea.
First NFL playoff bowl, which would be the runner-up bowl. Detroit beats Cleveland 17-16, so they would play these games after the Super Bowl. The loser would have to play the third place team to determine the runner-up bowl to the national or to the eventual champion. So you would have the second place and the third place team as the first NFL playoff bowl.
So if we had that in the SEC this year, it would have been A&M or Ole Miss. It would have been Ole Miss, wouldn't it? Ole Miss would have played
A&M.
Yeah. Well, no. You play the loser of the SEC championship, right?
So it'd be Alabama.
That would have been a fun game. I'd have watched that game. Ole Miss and Alabama. That'd have been fun.
All right. Now, this was getting into politics just a little bit, Heath, but this was very scrutinized by a lot of people. In 1980, U.S. President Jimmy Carter authorizes legislation to bail out the Chrysler Corporation with a $1.5 billion loan.
I wonder if that loan ever got paid back.
No clue. But
That's
I
another
do
thing we'll
know,
pass
I
along
do
to you.
remember a lot of people still talking about how bad of a deal that was.
I do know Jimmy Carter, the grin will win. That was his campaign slogan.
Hmm.
I remember he was the first president to borrow from Social Security.
Hmm.
And I still remember my fifth grade teacher, Miss Davis, was still harping on that. But you're like, we were a bunch of fifth grade. Like, we had no idea what she's talking about. We didn't even remember Jimmy Carter being president. We were just alive. We didn't even remember. And yeah, she was just wailing on that in class one day. And I came home and I was like, did Jimmy Carter take away some money from somebody? My parents thought it was funny. We went to church with them. They were great people. But yeah, she was still upset. I guarantee she's still upset about it today.
Heath, we're going to finish up with something that happened on this day, and this was a major thing that happened in Major League Baseball in 1991. We're going to end the Stingray Show talking about what you love the game of baseball. What happened?
What year?
91.
Oh, geez. Man, I'm in high school at this time. I'm a freshman in high school.
You did know this.
Interleague hasn't come into play yet. Did it have anything to do with the All-Star game?
No.
Playoffs weren't around. You still had to win the pennant at the time. There wasn't replay. I'm sure what you said, I'll remember it. Well, what was it?
The baseball legend Pete Rose is released from prison after serving 5 months term for income tax evasion.
Yeah, Pete Rose, man. I'm still upset that he didn't
Yep.
get to the Hall of Fame. And
Yes.
some of the people are still screaming about this, Stephen, and I'm going to rant on this very shortly.
I figured you would. That's why I saved it for last.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did. I got a great friend, Jeff Dunn. And sometimes Jeff listens to the show, and if he is, he'll probably call or text me here any second. But Jeff mentioned when they said they were going to let Pete into the Hall of Fame and this and that, or would be considered now after he passed away.
Right.
He's like, this isn't right. This isn't right. I was like, wait. His punishment was a lifetime ban. His life is over. He has served his sentence in full. That was the punishment, that he couldn't get into the Hall of Fame while he was alive. After he passed away, they would talk about it, discuss it. And so he was like, I still don't think they should put him in. And I'm like, you can have that opinion, but he's got more hits than anyone that's ever played the game on the history of the planet.
Yes.
You got to put him in. He's the hit king. And so, Pete Rose wrote a great book. Pete did everything at like 200%. Like, if Pete brushed his teeth, he was going to brush it harder, faster, better than everybody else.
Yeah.
If he was going to tie his shoes, it was going to be tighter, more straight. The laces weren't going to be crooked, and they were going to be done right. It's going to be double knotted, and it's going to look good. Like, Pete was just that guy in everything that he did.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like about Pete. But, I see is Eduardo Perez. We see Eduardo Perez a lot during the College World Series. He talks a lot during the games. Eduardo Perez was with Memphis Redbirds when I was working with the Redbirds as an intern way back when in college. But Eduardo told this great story about Pete Rose. And, him and King Griffey, all their dads played for the Cincinnati Reds. And he said him and King Griffey, and I forgot the other guys in the dugout. He said, we were flicking sunflower seeds at each other, and one got away and hit Pete. And he said, we all knew that all the players feared Pete. We knew we should fear Pete too. We're like, oh man, we should hit anybody in the dugout but Pete. And Pete says, hey, come here. And he goes, if you're going to sit in the dugout, you're going to learn something. And so, like, Pete takes these kids under his wing during the game, and he says, watch this. When he's gloves here and this and that, he's going to throw a fastball. When it was right here, he's going to throw a curveball. When he does this, and like Pete knew what kind of pitch he was going to throw.
Yeah.
And so he was teaching these kids, how to pick up signs and, how to steal pitches and everything else. And so it was absolutely phenomenal to pick up on how a pitcher was tipping his pitches and this and that. But I'll wrap it up with this with Pete Rose. He had one of the greatest quotes I absolutely love. And he said, I would walk through hell wearing a gasoline suit to play the game of baseball.
Yes.
And that's just how he was, man. A lot of people don't like Pete. If Pete was my neighbor, I probably couldn't stand him. But he never was my neighbor, and I always enjoyed Pete. And like I said, he was just a 200% kind of guy. Just go, go, go all the time.
And he got chokeslammed by Kane, a.k.a. Mayor Glenn Jacobs of Knox County, Tennessee, not once but twice in his career.
We should ask Governor Jacobs.
I'm sorry. Not chokeslammed, tombstoned.
Yeah.
Tombstoned.
Yeah. I already called him Governor Jacobs. He's still the mayor. He's going to be governor of Tennessee.
Yes.
Glenn Jacobs will be governor of Tennessee, and he's probably going to be the next governor of Tennessee.
Yeah.
But next time we have Mayor Jacobs on, and yes, he's been on the show like 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
We always talk to him about things. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting Mayor Jacobs up, and we might bring that up about Pete Rose.
Heath, that is going to wrap up the Wednesday morning edition of the Stingray Show. Listen up, Ole Miss Nation. We have for you tomorrow, we will have a live report of the Ole Miss and Miami preview as we are going to be joined by Adam Lichtenstein, Miami Hurricane beat writer from the Sun Sentinel. He will join us from out there in Glendale, Arizona, and then we will be joined by Ole Miss 365's own David Johnson to preview the game day for Miami and Ole Miss. That is on the Thursday edition of the Stingray Show. Hotty toddy, tune in tomorrow because it's all going to be about your Rebels taking on the Miami Hurricanes there in the Fiesta Bowl. And Heath, we will see you tomorrow with the Fiesta Bowl preview.
Hey, Steven, if there had to be a wrestler from the state of Alabama to become governor, who are you picking?
I had no idea, man.
What wrestlers are from Alabama? Isn't one of the guys from Rock and Roll Express from Alabama?
I don't have a clue.
All right, now you got homework. Find out. You do your homework. Junkyard Dog's no longer with us. He was from Mississippi, but
right.
And Kamala, the Ugandan giant, he wasn't from Uganda. He was from Coldwater, Mississippi, just an exit down from Hernando. So yeah, I know about Kamala.
Yeah. So Heath, tomorrow, Ole Miss, Miami preview right here on the Stingray Show. Be here or else.
Or else. Ooh.
I said that to all of the watchers and listeners, not to you. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Hey, stay right there, Heath. Need to chat with you after this, okay?
Nope, you got to catch me first.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save.